Hey everybody, it's Katie from the Hive Collective, and we are on the fourth episode of Let's Learn Together. And I do apologize, this episode was a little bit delayed. I was a little under the weather last week, and I'm finally feeling better, and so now we're back to filming. And on today's episode, we're going to go over UI systems, mainly because for this new room that we launched, the Retrowave Cafe, I had to make a UI system, and I found that there was no tutorials that were relevant to the updates that have happened to RecRoom Studio, and it was really difficult to figure out how to do it. And after a few days of struggle, I did eventually figure it out, but now I want to share that information with you. So we should get started. Alright, welcome in guys. We are on the YouTube version of the How to Make a UI in Rec Room using Rec Room Studio, and I went ahead, I made a custom room for this just to keep things a little bit cleaner. You can add it into one of your existing rooms, or you too can also make a custom room if you're trying to keep things a little more neat, clean, and organized. Now the very first thing that we're going to want to do is go over to our hierarchy, and we're going to click on that plus button, and we are going to scroll down to where it says UI, and then we're going to scroll down again to where it says Canvas. And you can go ahead and you can rename this. It'll auto have it for you to rename it, and I'm just going to put UI-system. Perfect. The other thing that you're going to notice is that when it comes in these white lines, that's just a corner of it because it's coming in really, really, really big. And that's okay because we're actually going to adjust the size on it. So when you first try to adjust the size, it's not going to let you do anything. Well, that's because we have to change the render mode. So we're going to click on this screen space overlay and we're going to go to world space. And now we can go up to the size and we can actually change it to 10 by 10, and we'll change the position to 0, 0, 0. And we'll pull that up just a little bit so when we load into this later, it'll be above ground. All right, so the next step that we have to follow is converting this into a studio object. And the reason that we have to do that is so we can open up its prefab so we can change things like the background and add our buttons and things like that. So we are going to take this UI system, we are going to click, drag, and we are going to drop it down in the Maker Pen object area. And when you do that, it's going to ask if you want to convert to studio. Heck yeah, let's do it. And it's going to then appear in our little hierarchy here in orange, just like so. And now you can see we are able to open up the prefab. So let's go ahead and click on that. Now you're going to be greeted with this big beautiful screen that is blue, or you may see the white square of your canvas. Either way, doesn't really matter. What does matter is that we are going to click on the UI system button and we're going to actually bring in its background. So if you right click on that and you scroll down to UI, we are then going to click on raw image. And you'll have this giant white square, which if you do not have an image for your background, you can actually come over to this side and you can pick any color that you want. Me preferably, I'm going to import an image because I, ahead of time, made a couple things for this tutorial. You can either make some things for yourself, or I'm sure you could download some things off the internet. But when you're ready to import those things in, we're just going to come down to our asset area. We're going to right click, import new asset. You can see the things that I've made ahead of time for this. I'm going to highlight all of them and click import. Now, once they get brought in, they're going to come in as a default texture. We actually need them to be a sprite. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything. And I'm going to click default, and I'm going to go to 2D and UI, the sprite. Then you just need to scroll down and click on apply. Boom, done. Easy peasy. All right, so now if we go back to our raw image, and like I said, you can either pick a color or you can pick an image that you have. And the two ways you can do this, you can either click this little circle and choose from all the different UIs that you have existing within your studio, or if you have everything neat, clean, organized, and ready to go, you can just click and drag and drop. Now, you're going to notice that my canvas size is still that 10 by 10, but my image, my raw image, is 100 by 100. So let's go ahead and let's switch that. Now, I know I don't want it to actually be square, which if I do 10 by 10, it will be square. I want mine to actually be more rectangle, so I'm going to go 10 by 6 for this. And I'll actually click on the canvas part here, and I'm going to change that to 6 just so it matches. All right, excellent. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to start adding in our buttons. So when we are on the raw image, you can go ahead, you can rename this if you'd like. We can call it background. When we are on the background, we are going to go ahead and we're going to scroll down to UI and we are going to click on button. There's a couple different ways that you can set up buttons. There's kind of like the Unity provided button. Or you can import sprites. So I'm going to show you both of those ways and just a couple different ways that you can make them interactable. I'm actually going to make that just a little bit smaller. Okay, cool. All right, so for this first button, we're going to change the name button because this is going to be for a panel called You Rock, because you guys rock. So let's go ahead and type You Rock exclamation mark. And you can also import some different fonts. I'm just going to choose a random one that I already have imported. And you can change the size, you can change the color, you can make it bold, you can make it italic, like you can do a lot of different stuff. I'm going to change the color to white because I think maybe it looks a little bit cleaner. And then the actual button itself, I'm going to change its color. So where you see color here, we're going to click on that. I mean, I've kind of got a little bit of a green theme going on, so we'll just pick a random shade and go with that. Awesome. And this is like you not having to import anything for this. This is just like using what's available in Studio. And then I like it when you are hovering over a button that it changes color so you know which button you're actually on. Just makes it a little more user friendly. So I'm going to go into the highlighted color and I'm going to click on that green again, but I'm just going to go to something really bright. And then when it's pressed, I prefer when it goes a little darker when it's pressed. And then when it's actually selected, I want it to be that same color. So I just clicked the eyedropper there and I clicked on the color. And then the disabled color, I just want it to be its regular self. Easy peasy. Perfect. So that is how you can set up that type of design for a button. And then we'll get to the on clicks a little bit later because I want to have the panels ready before we do that. So we'll go ahead and we're going to add in another button, but I'm just going to show you a different way that you can also do buttons. So let's go ahead and click on our background. We are going to go back down to UI and we are going to click on button again. Go ahead and we'll scroll that down. Perfect. Now, in some situations, you're going to have it set up that you will have buttons that have text on them. Maybe you downloaded it from a site and it just came with text. That's totally cool. If you have that, you can click and drag that and drop it onto your image source. Now, the hiccup being is that the word button is going to be on there because that comes preloaded, I guess, with the button when you bring it in using the UI option. So we're going to click on this little drop down, we're going to click on text, and we're just going to go ahead and erase that. And then when we click back on our button, it's good to go, it's all cleaned up, it looks great. So let's move that over, and then that's I think an okay spot for it. And this time, instead of doing the tinting option for when we hover over it and interact with it, we're actually going to go to what is called a sprite swap. And what that allows us to do, I have three different variations of this button, a lighter one, the normal one, and a darker one, and it just makes it so I can have those three different variations so they change color. So I'm going to put the lighter one on the highlighted. I'm going to take the darker one and put it on the pressed. I also want the darker one on the selected, and then I want it to go back to normal when it is disabled. Easy peasy. All right, and then we will do one more type of button. Um, for this one, we will go back again to background, UI, and click button again. Scroll way down. I say scroll down, but I mean scale down. Okay, perfect. And then this one, I did a blank button because I just wanted to show you that you can combine the two. So I'm actually going to make that a little bit smaller because it's still a little bit big. Cool. So with the blank button, now I can use this blank space, but I can still update the font, kind of like what we did with the first one. So we're just going to click on that text and I'm going to type YouTube. And again, we'll just pick, I don't know, a random font. That one's a little fancy. This one looks okay. And I'm going to change the color. Awesome. And we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to go down to our transition and we're going to click on that color tint. We're going to go to sprite swap. And I've got, again, a lighter one for when we are highlighted, a darker one for when, oh gosh, darker one for when we are pressed, when we are selected, and then we will go back to normal when we're not doing anything. Perfect. Okay, 3 different styles of buttons. You know, it's pretty easy stuff. We are going to get to the on clicks. But before we do that, you have to have panels so it knows what it's rotating through. So we're going to create those panels first. So we'll take a quick pause on the buttons. And if you go up to UI system, we're going to click on that. We're going to go down to UI and we are going to click on panel. And we'll call this first one U Rock Panel. Awesome. Okay. And then you're going to see you get like this weird circle. That's totally normal. If you come over on the image side here, we're going to click on this white. We're going to go down. We're going to drag this all the way over to 0, and it's just going to make it transparent, and then you'll see that circle is gone. Now, the other thing that is super duper important, it says raycast target is turned on. You need to turn that off. If you don't turn this off when it comes time to click your buttons, it's going to be like a shield that stops those buttons from being interactable. So just make sure you click that off. And then what we want to do is we want to right click, go down to UI, and we're going to add an image to this panel. Again, they always come in really big. That's okay. Now, this is our URock panel, so I've got a little URock image here that we're going to click, drag, and drop onto our source image, and we're just going to make that a heck of a lot smaller. And we'll pull that over to the side here. Awesome. Okay. Now, you could go up to UI and you could continuously create those panels over and over and over again and add the images, or, and have to scale this piece. Or if you have it kind of how you like it, you can click on this, hit Control C, Control V, and do that twice because we know we need 3 panels. And now all we have to do is just do a couple slight modifications. So we're going to go down, we're going to rename this one. We've got thank you panel. And then the bottom one here, YouTube panel. Okay, cool. So then if I click on this image for the thank you, instead of having to resize this and do all the things, if I grab my thank you image and just drop it there, it's going to size it and scale it to the square that I have that's existing for that image, which is kind of nice. And then for the YouTube, we're going to do the same thing, only I'm going to grab this little YouTube one here, and I'm going to drop it on top. Perfect. Now, the other thing that you just want to make sure, like I said before, when you have these all set up, is that the raycast target is turned off on all of them. I mean, because we copied and pasted, it should be, but I just like to double check just to be on the safe side, so you're not wondering later what the heck is going on. All right. Now, the other thing that we have to do is you'll have your home panel, which we're going to make our You Rock the Home panel. And what I mean by that is when the player loads into the room, it's the one that is displayed to them. So I need to take my YouTube panel, and I need to make it not active so you can't see it, and I need to take my thank you panel and make it not active so again, you can't see it. So when you load into the room, you're only seeing the home panel and it'll change when you click those buttons. Awesome. So now that we have our panel set up, we have to wire the buttons. And I promise you, we're actually almost getting to the end of this tutorial, and you guys are doing so great. So just keep up the good work. So let's go ahead, let's click on that first button there. Now, if you were organized, you could label your buttons as well, but that's okay for right now. I'm going to skip that step, and we'll just continue on. So we're going to go down to the on clicks, and I'm going to click this 3 times because we have 3 panels. And what I want to do is I'm going to take my You Rock panel, and I'm going to drop it in, my Thank You panel, drop it in the next one, and my YouTube panel, and drop it in this third one here. And then for our function, we're going to go game object, set active bool, and we're going to do that for all 3 of them. All right, and then because this is the You Rock button, and we know when we press that we want to show the You Rock panel, we're going to click this check mark to say it is true. This is what we want to see. We don't want to see this, we don't want to see that, so we're not checking it. We just want to see this. Awesome. So now we just have to do that to the other 2 buttons. So we will click on our thank you button. I probably really should have labeled this, but it's okay. I know which ones are mine, but you can label yours if you'd like. And so we are going to go You Rock, thank you, and YouTube. Great. And same thing, our game function, our game object set active bool. Amazing. This is the thank you one that we want to see, so we're going to check that. And then we go to our third button. 1, 2, and 3. Same thing. So you do this enough times and it'll be just like imprinted into your brain. And we know on this one, we want obviously the YouTube one to be the active one. Amazing! How easy. Okay, now there is only one more thing we have to do. That's it, that's it, that's all. One more thing, and then we can go test this. So if you go ahead and you click on UI system, you need to come over here where it says add component, and we need to have a canvas interaction. And what that does is it makes it so people can actually interact with this UI system. So go ahead, click that, and then where it says is interactable, you need to check that box. And that's it. We're done. I know it was effortless, really. So let's go ahead, let's back out of here. Now this is pretty big, so I'm just going to scale it down a tiny little bit here. I'm going to move down. There's the ground, so we'll put it there. And now we can go ahead, hit test subroom, and I'll show you guys what this looks like live. All right, so here you have it, guys. We loaded into the room. We are on the You Rock panel because you guys rock. And basically, this is how it will look. And when you hover over the buttons, you can see they do change color because we set it up that way. And when you click on the buttons, the panel is going to change. And we'll click on the YouTube one. There you are. There you have it. And go back to You Rock. And that's just 3 styles of buttons. And again, this is just rotating panels as well. There's actually a multitude of different things that you can do with UI. I just wanted to show you the basics for today. Maybe in some future videos, I can show you some things where we can hook up some CV2 to it as well, where you can send players to other rooms or have banners that pop up on screen. Like there's a lot of different stuff that you can do, but at least you now know how to create yourself a little system where if you have info for your room that you want to share, you can do that on a page where you can rotate through. All right, well, have a great day, guys, and I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you again next week.